There we go. All right. Welcome everybody to this wellness workshop. I kind of want to make it a little more so we can have like a conversation than just keeping it as me just talking. But I know that sometimes that doesn't always work out. And so I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on the chat because I don't have anyone else working with me, but it looks like we got quite a few people here to get started. And so to not keep anyone too long, we'll just get going. So I want to just kind of like say that this is a way to look at how you're relating to anxiety. And one way to look at it is that sometimes it can become a habit, and looking at how mindfulness is a way to interrupt a pattern or a habit or something that we've gotten into that we're not finding is working anymore for us. Probably at one time it was, and now it's not. And so we want to find the wisdom in worry. We want to find the wisdom in anxiety. And so there are several books that I have read that have really helped me cope with my own anxiety. And a lot of this is based in Jud Brewer. He's a psychiatrist and an addictions psychiatrist. And so he works a lot in how we create these loops. So we'll go ahead and get started on exploring this. The biggest thing I like to say is we don't want to get rid of anxiety. It is an emotion that serves us in a lot of ways. And what we're going to want to kind of look at is what are we doing right now with anxiety, and can we kind of like get into a different way to relate so that we're listening to it. We are kind of going, what is this about? Can we change our approach so we're not controlling it? And so that's really the heart of what I want to get across today, is how to be with your anxiety in a way that is friendly rather than resistant. So here we go. So some of the things we're going to look at is the anxiety habit loop. And I want to say that this can actually be used for any emotion, anything that is a stimulus in your life that feels uncomfortable. You can kind of see how it shapes out and decide if you want to change something. Why do we keep repeating the things that we know we don't want to do and that they are causing us, some turmoil in our life? And so we'll look at that, looking a little bit of what mindfulness looks like in action in this type of retraining your brain, and then some tools that you can use. And the biggest one we're going to use is awareness and curiosity. So this is something that, to me, the next slide, just want to bring it up, and this will start hopefully some conversation. So when you look at this slide, we see a child who looks upset, and we see an adult who is comforting it. And so one thing to think about is when you're feeling anxiety, what would it look like if you were to see your anxiety this way? And if people want to put a chat in, they can. But to me, I look at this and it's like, maybe this isn't something that needs to be fixed. Maybe this is not something that needs to be pushed away. It might be something that needs some comfort, some connection. Yeah, we've got some good things in here. You just want to take care of it. Maybe I can just sit with it. Yeah, holding space for it. Yeah, when we can shift ourselves to thinking like, what would it be like if I didn't have to see this as something that was causing me problems, but maybe something that was just inside of me that was kind of in a way letting me know I'm cared for. Yeah, not expecting it to just go away. Safe place for the emotion to process. Exactly. Yeah. And so the thing is to kind of ask yourself, like, currently, no judgment here. I always like to say that there's no judgment. How am I meeting my anxiety right now? Um, what are the ways that I hold myself, the way that my mind thinks, the behaviors I have to do? And this is a lot of like what we want to do is just really start noticing those things, because it gives us a different opportunity. So this is really what I want to get in here. We are not here to fix. We're here to be present, and there's nothing wrong with feeling anxious. It is what we are designed to feel in certain situations that come up because of we do care, and our emotions care about us. So, kind of just a basic on like what is anxiety? To me, just simply, it is a natural response to when I don't have the full picture. I don't know what the outcome of information I just got. Maybe it is me, wanting to be safe, and the anxiety almost comes in to like protect me. And it can feel, whew, these are just a few things, restless, muscle tensions, racing mind. To me, it's like I have an alarm system, which is my nervous system. And based on so many things, it has been taught to keep me safe from generally something that happened in childhood. And so it's really trying to help me. But maybe there isn't any danger. Yeah. And so if you want to put in the chat, what does anxiety feel like or look like for you? Mhm. Yeah. Panic, fast and heavy, being frantic, impending doom, short temper, dread, panic, trouble thinking. Oh, overwhelmed, like too much caffeine. Yeah. So, yeah, these are, yep, like I'm the center of a snowball rolling down the hill and gaining more and more speed and heading towards a great big ramp. Yeah, that uncertainty. We don't know. Are we going to make it off the ramp or not? Tight chest, fluttering in the belly. Yeah, physical discomfort. Yeah, quick to anger. Disconnected. Ooh, there we go. That is something anxiety can really do for us, which can get us into a habit because, boy, sometimes we don't want to be connected to what we're feeling or the situation. We want to avoid it, the feeling of fear. So, yeah, these are all the ways that it kind of like we know we're in that. And so I'm glad we're getting this. This is awareness. You're going to see these little gears at the top. And so, first gear, we are becoming aware of what's going on. Some other things that can get in the way with anxiety, because, like I said, it's there to protect us. Um, we get hidden benefits, and I call them hidden because sometimes they feel like cringy. We're embarrassed to admit it, but they get really sticky, and they make it hard to give up. And so I have also worked in the field of addiction, and to me, I cannot really do any work with someone until I understand the benefits they're getting out of a behavior. And regardless if I think it's not a great thing and I think it's harmful, the person is getting something out of it. And you have to look at this and make that decision if that's something you want to do. And because these sometimes, especially worry, can be a signal that I care. If I worry enough about this, they will know I care. If I worry enough, this won't happen. Anyone ever had that thought? You can just raise your hand. But those are some common things. Yeah, we're getting some hand raises here that it can look like, and we're not really sure if that's actually true when we're just automatically doing it. It can make us feel prepared. If I'm anxious enough, then, this kind of goes along. We'll get into it in the next slide, but that perfectionism, like I have to overdo everything. And the anxiety is just kind of keeping that going so that I'm going to be in control of the situation. I'm prepared. How could I give up my anxiety? Maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's helping you. I think the thing is too, is it gives us a sense of protection that can feel like it's really true, and it may not be true. That anxiety, I think when we go up and we look at some of the reasons people were feeling like the disconnected, overthinking, quick to anger, uncontrollable, then we have to go, oh, wait a minute, maybe I need to rethink if this is or not. Another one is it will really protect you from changing, from taking a risk. I like to say my anxiety tries to prevent me from embarrassing myself all the time. And from making mistakes, doing something that I don't know how to do because I might look foolish. And so I gotta realize that, okay, is that really, what I want to have happen? But I have to face it first, that those are the things that are coming up. And so, like I said earlier, it makes it sticky. It's hard to let these go. I think one of the best things from David Burns that I've gotten, and it's a CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, which is really one of the most effective treatments and talk therapy for anxiety, is doing a cost benefit. And so you can do that with any emotion, but you could just say, what are the benefits of feeling anxious in this moment? What are the costs of feeling anxious in this moment? And at first, your brain's going to go, I don't know, there's nothing. It's okay. That's your brain trying to protect you. So you might want to just go like, okay, we're just going to sit here for a while and think about it. But I can't give anyone those answers. Those answers are in you, and it does take some mindfulness to get there. And so now that we're looking at, why it's hard to get rid of anxiety, let's look at the different ways that it can show up that are easier to label than just the feeling sometimes. So one of the books and I have not completed it, but I just found it. It was The Chemistry of Calm by Dr. Henry Emons. And I like this book because it's taking an approach that puts a little more of the control into your own hand on how you want to deal with your anxiety. And so he talks a lot about nutrition. He talks about exercise, lifestyle, supplements that are not medication that can be helpful. And so the way that he kind of breaks it down these are the faces that can come up. And so when we are in this place of scarcity, that's like a thought process that I don't have enough. I'm not enough. This situation is not giving me enough. And so when we kind of like keep feeding that over and over, that scarcity becomes like what we're scared of. We're scared to have not enough. And so I think sometimes that can have that feeling of, or the snowball running down the hill, we got to get more, we got to get more. And that could be a type of anxiety. Avoidance, I kind of briefed on this, but it's like that fear of doing something. And so the anxiety comes up when we have to, it could be anything. I'm doing this presentation. I could have been like, oh, I don't want to do this in front of people. And I would find reasons to get away from it. And that would be my anxiety kind of taking over there. It could be maybe you're in a relationship that you know you need to address some kind of behavior, yet you're feeling like I can't do it. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. And so you're going to pull away from doing those things. The worry is that chronic overthinking about a situation, something that's probably not in your control. It's not your, sometimes how do I want to say this? We take on other people's actions, we take on other people's situations and try to fix it, try to make it better. And we might spend a lot of time worrying and what ifing in there. We can do this for ourselves as well, but it's sometimes it's really around other people. The panic, and I think that was quite a few times. And the thing I want to say about panic is when we have a panic, it can be an attack, it can just feel like overwhelm, where you can feel like you're having a heart attack, you're just suddenly just like your body is really in a threatened state. What can happen though is you fall into the fear of having another panic attack, which feeds more of those panic attacks. And so almost like having an acceptance that at times in our lives, it's possible for humans to have panic attacks. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. It just might mean the overwhelm of our nervous system due to a situation. The compulsivity. So this would be for people that we would maybe diagnose as having OCD. There are things that we do repetitively. They can range from hand washing to chanting to touching things, all kinds of different ways that people might do a repetitive action. And what it's doing is trying to soothe that anxiety. And this is a wonderful example in the loop we're going to look at of a behavior that gives temporary relief. Perfectionism. We had a training on perfectionism and cultivating self-acceptance, I think in the spring. And so really this big fear of failing, of having flaws, of having people see you not do things correctly can bring a lot of anxiety. And the last one is that need for control. When the control is out of our hands, that can activate a really big fear. And so in a way, when you see all of these things, it's just kind of like, they're all trying to protect something. And the thing that I need to look at in myself all the time is this really something that needs protected? Is it really true that I don't have enough? Is it true that this bad situation is going to get worse? You know, is it true that I'm always going to have panic attacks and they'll never stop? You know, I'm trying to predict the future, but I'm predicting it in a way that just keeps me in fear. So now I'm just going to launch a poll to see, let's see here, bring it up. So, let's see, is it going? There we go. So what phases of anxiety do you experience the most? And go ahead and just choose as many as you can see. Let's see. And I'm looking to see, is there anything in the chat here? It's not coming up. There we go. Does everyone see it now? Oh, okay. Okay. And I see someone has their hand up. My screen had a thing in front of it. Oh, there's not an option to choose more than one. I'm sorry. Let's see.
Oh.
Well, you know what you can do? You can always type it in the chat if you want. And then, is it Zadir?
Yes, and mine would be scarcity.
Scarcity. Okay. How do you feel it when it comes up in your body?
Here, I'll turn my camera on. I think it goes hand in hand with compulsivity. And so the desire to buy stuff. So it's like the going to the phone. I guess in my body, though, it feels like flighty and fluttery.
Yeah, that I want to say this a lot of times as humans, we are feelers, and there are feelings that feel comfortable, that are kind of just benign. They don't bother us. There's feelings that are like, oh, this is great. And then there's feelings that go, ugh, we kind of constrict. And so, yeah, having something that access to just like stop that feeling for a moment. Ooh, we like that. So, yeah. It looks like our highest one right now is worry. That is pretty high, followed by avoidance and perfectionism. Yeah, and we've got some people just putting in several of them here, and scarcity, worry, perfectionism, need for control. Yeah. And so how do we want to be with that? That's kind of the deal is how are we, currently? And I think it's really good to you're recognizing like what is the behavior that I'm doing. And so no matter what the face is, we can use this. And so here we've got anxiety as a habit loop. And this is just a habit loop is something you could do this with anything that's going on, because a trigger to me is just like there is something that has happened outside of me or inside of me that's got my attention. And when we look at anxiety, it is kind of like the stress, uncertainty, negative thoughts. Those are some common things that are going to get it. And stress to me, that is an umbrella term that can be a lot of things. So your brain, the reason this is a habit is because your brain has got to free up some mental space. And so the more habits our brain has, it can do other things for us. So we don't have to think about every tiny thing we did. I would imagine today, if you did not always have a habit of how you got up this morning, you did all the things you did to get ready for work, even just like putting on your shoes. If you had to remember how to do that every single morning, I don't know if we'd all make it to work on time. So we have these habits that are really helpful for us. But some of them are habits that worked at one time and they are still running in the background, and they may not be serving their original purpose anymore. But some habits, like I said, it's brushing your teeth, it's tying your shoes, it's things like that that can be, really helpful. And so maybe I like to look at when I was a kid, something that triggered me was I had a parent that had a mental illness. He had a bipolar disorder. And so the house was very emotionally dysregulated a lot of the times. And, and I was taught that we had to make sure that we didn't upset him. And so my little nervous system learned that really well, and it became very anxious as a way to remind me, oh, you've got to go in and make sure other people feel okay. You got to make sure they're feeling safe, supported, that they're not going to fall apart. So my trigger was people feeling upset. And then my behavior was to come in. I don't know that I would say it was worry, overthinking, and avoiding, but my behavior would come to, how can I help you? How can I support you? What do you need me to do? can I make this different for you? Can I do this? And I became super efficient. I'm probably very overproductive, over-functioning a lot. The result was this person was not upset. I was safe. The other result was I was not taking care of myself. I was not seeing how I was not getting my needs met because I was so concerned that the other person had to get their needs met. And this is kind of like a part of empathy that we don't always talk about. But when we get so empathetic to the other person's position and what they're going through and give them all of the compassion, all of the care, then we kind of get lost. We get really small. And so this is just a way for me that anxiety became this habit loop. And I will tell you what, at 53 years old, I still get to practice how to interrupt this habit loop. So I want to just kind of keep it in there that these came in to free us up, to keep us safe. And we got to probably look at them sometimes and go, is this really keeping me safe? And so this is just like a simple way to write things out, to figure out if something is going to get you, the result or reward that you actually want. And so that habit, the unconscious running of this, is sometimes what's just keeping the anxiety going, because the anxiety keeps the system running. And so this is protection. So the anxiety's got to come in and keep that system running, even though it's burning us out sometimes. And so, yeah, it's just like, are there some things in my life that are habits that help me? And are there some that harm me? And this can be, to me, sometimes really hard to look at because we don't like to take that responsibility. Without a lot of times there's guilt and shame that, oh, I've been doing this, it's all my fault. But it's like that part's got to come out and just go, let me just look at it and see what's happening. So someone wrote, sometimes I worry about X and come up with contingencies that people close to me do not even see as remotely necessity. Luckily, I do not worry about everything, but it's kind of random. I think and a random. I can't read that word after there, but yeah, I think
that was a typo.
that's
That
okay.
is kind of random. Period. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, these are just simple little things to look at on how this happens. And so, yeah, once you're caught in it, this is what happens. We fight it. How many people feel like this picture with anxiety? Get back. I, I had someone recently I was working with, and it was, I never want to feel anxious again. I want to make it stop. And I was like, oh, I think you're asking for something that we can't actually do, which is going to create more anxiety because you're after something, you're grasping at it, I got to have it. And that is going to be the thing that just keeps feeding more anxiety. So ooh, that's the part where I always go like, oh, it's kind of cringy when I have to look at and say, okay, there's a behavior running in this that is creating this. What can I do? I probably gotta just pay attention instead of doing the constant push at all of this. And I might have, let me see if I have another poll in here. Here we go. So see if this one will launch. So when you try to push anxiety away, what usually happens? Ah, yeah, it is. Looks like it's getting worse, but it also goes away briefly, but then it's coming back. We got a few people that are not sure. That's good. That's a good place to be. That's where curiosity comes in. Yeah. We got some people adding. It's worse. It doesn't go away. Ah, we needed another option. I like that. Yeah. And it's really, you want to be able to feel that in your body, that when I push it away, I get mad at it, I don't comfort it, I don't listen to it. What does it do? It does this. And so a lot of the reasons that I have found for myself, oh gosh, I am like the queen of podcast and reading self-help books and improvement books. Oh my gosh, until my body actually starts feeling it and practicing those things, they're just words. They don't always matter. So sometimes I want to say anxiety, actually just really feel what it's like so that you can feel what it's like when it's not running the show. Just to feel those differences in your body for sure. And so we're going to just take a little moment here. And really, this is just a place for you to do your own kind of writing out, like think of a moment recently where anxiety showed up, and you can just write these things down. And sometimes the trigger to me is just going briefly, what happened prior to me feeling it? Just what was happening? And it could have been something external or it could have been internal. Maybe you had a pain or you had something, but something triggered and it brought up that feeling. And so once that feeling's there, going back to that moment, if you can, just in your brain, like watching yourself, what was your behavior? And I'll say a behavior could also be a way of thinking. It could be an action you took, words you said or didn't say. Yeah. I like that someone noticed that. I like that nobody chose it completely goes away. Yeah. And then, oops, once you've noticed that behavior, if you can remember what was the result of that action that got taken. Ambulance sirens. Yeah. Oh, I live over off of Garden Way and there's a Unity preschool, I think it's called, and I'm walking by it and there was like 5 police officers. I walked down Harlow a little ways and next thing you know, there was like tactical, all this stuff coming and I was like, whew, I'm feeling a little anxious. I don't know what's going on down the street. And I was like, I'm just going to keep walking away from this area. I don't hear anything, bring myself down. But there was a point that I might have wanted to go into worry. Yeah. And so as you're noticing those things, it's like, is that result bringing you some relief? Is it clarity? Is it wanting to avoid? What are the things that you're noticing? And so this is the basics of doing a habit loop. And I really, really suggest, because this is what I have seen in myself, I've seen it with people I work with. This is going to help you understand yourself and how you're relating to the things that trigger you. Gabor Mate has a saying that it's like, other things outside can be a trigger, but we hold the ammunition. And so because of that, the ammunition is inside of me. These are my feelings, they're my thoughts, they're my actions. It's true that there could be something external that's happened that makes sense based on all of my ammunition, why I'm responding the way I am. But I want to have choice. I don't want to have to feel like I have to do it this way because I've always done it this way. I want to be able to open up. And so in that sense, we need some mindfulness. Um, Mindfulness sometimes can seem like just this catchphrase that's thrown out. People need to meditate, they need to be mindful. And we maybe don't always like know what that means. And to me, this is probably one of the most simplest ways to look at mindfulness because I don't actually have to do anything special to be mindful. I could be brushing my teeth. I could be taking a walk. Um, uh, what do we got here? Someone wanting to dump their bucket of slugs on your head, but I have an umbrella at the ready to protect myself. Yeah. So that's, what are you going to do when those things come? So you're paying attention. We got a person who's got a bucket of slugs. That's what I see. All right. I'm on purposely paying attention to it. What do I notice about this? What kind of bucket do they have? What kind of slugs do they have? Where am I at in this? Am I at far distance? I'm not going to judge it yet. I'm not going to say it's dangerous. I don't know. I'm just going to remain curious about it. And even the brushing the teeth one, they can say, well, brush your teeth for 30 seconds on one and then the next. And so you might actually get judgmental. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Am I brushing it right? Oh my gosh, maybe I need to do it better. And so it's more like just, oh, what does this look like? It looks like feeling the brush going up and down my teeth. I'm not counting. I'm just like, oh, what does the bristles feel like? What is this? And I'm doing it on purpose because I'm picking this deliberately to pay attention to, and I'm not judging. And when judging comes up, I might even just go, oh, I notice judgment's coming up. I see that. I'm going to go back to brushing my teeth. And that could be, yeah. So those are the ways that I look at mindfulness. Let's see if we have a question. Can be them being ugly with the way they speak to you or act toward you, learning to cover your buttons so they can't push them. Yeah, and I would say, okay, so if somebody is talking to you in an ugly way, first we would want to, if we want to be mindful, we're just like, we're aware. We're like, oh, that speech, what about it was happening that was ugly? And so that's my awareness. I'm aware of the words they use, the tone of voice, their posture. And so I'm paying attention. I'm present. I'm with them. This is the part where it can be where you're saying learning to cover your buttons. Well, I'm actually not going to cover them. I'm going to not judge that they're doing this for any, I'm not going to give meaning to it. Let's say that. No meaning, because there's no judgment when I have no meaning. It's just like, oh, I hear you saying that my shirt is ugly and I look sloppy today. Huh. I'm just reflecting it back to them. I'm not judging it. I'm just giving it back. I know that I might be upset and I might be feeling hurt by that. But maybe the first thing I can do is just like reflect back to them what they said. And I can wait for them to hear that. And now they get to respond. If I want to go further, I could say, I'm not sure what you meant by that. So that I'm not putting judgment in my words. And that's it's a hard thing to not do that. I got it. But sometimes we do want to like cover our buttons up so people don't push them. We don't want to give them any more ammunition. We've got awareness of microaggressions, pause, don't react, but highly sensitive, and keep the hurt in my mind and body, afterwards leading to anxiety, avoid and escape. Oh, yeah. So what I'm hearing here is your anxiety. It's coming in to push down the anger. Anger is saying, hey, this isn't, we don't like being treated this way. We love you. Speak up for us. Take up some space. And anxiety says, absolutely not. The last time we spoke up, we got made fun of. We can't do that. Well, last time people said that we were too much. We can't do that. And so the anger is getting pushed down with the anxiety. And I think a lot of times for people who've been in a situation, especially in childhood, where they didn't have any way of speaking up for themselves and they had to push their anger down to be safe, because I'll tell you what, sometimes it is the right thing to do, to not explode because the person in front of you is larger, they're more powerful. It's like a real tiger, especially if you're a child or you're a small person. And so the anxiety came in and put the clamp on it, like, no, we can't do this. But we learn then that we have to push everything down. But what you're noticing is, I love it. You're just like, this is so good. Oh, but it's hurting in my body. And then I gotta get away from it. And it's like so awful. So yeah, that is then maybe the anxiety is asking you to, can we actually speak up now? Can we take care of us? And that's a thing that we need just lots of practice on. And so that's where we want to come in and just know that this mindfulness is going to interrupt that loop. And so the person who just wrote that up there, already you're interrupting the loop, you're naming it, you're bringing some light on it, you're shedding light, like this is happening. So it's allowing us to, stop, give it some space, notice what's happening. And when we start noticing that, then that pause is like, oh, let's just be with it. I know I want to rush off and do that thing and get away, but I'm just going to stay here with you. I'm going to stay here with you, anxiety. It's okay. Because now we're just like, even if we still run away after 5 seconds, we paused for a little bit and that broke the habit. It stopped it right there for a moment. And so now we're in the place where we're getting some space to make a choice. I think a lot of people are writing in there how it's like overthinking. I disconnect. And so anxiety will do that. It will stop you from making choices that might actually really help you get out of that situation. Because if somebody is making microaggressions at you and they're just saying little snide comments and you continue to just like make yourself small and don't say anything, that's actually going to continue for the most part. They're going to see that there's no, pushback or feedback on what they're doing. And so they may continue. So that giving some, whew, now I can see more clearly, maybe I have to say something. And I'll tell you what, you might overreact. You might go off on them. Your anger is going to come out. I don't think that means there's anything wrong with you. You might have to do some repair work. Maybe this person needs to do some repair work, but we're breaking the habit. I'm not going to say it's going to be pretty when we break a habit. I know that I have had many a times that I have had to say, oh, you know what? I've actually been lying. I've been dishonest. I didn't tell you I didn't like this. And now I'm telling you. In fact, you're probably going to be mad at me because I'm not going to do this for you anymore. I can't do this anymore. If you want to get upset with me, you have every right. It's okay. I realize what I need to do to protect my energy. And I can't be anxious all the time. It's not healthy for me. I'm not even getting into it, but like having that constant anxiety is just flooding your body with chemicals and hormones that are keeping it stressed. So yeah. So we got something over here. Oh, someone's saying that talking about it over and over is increasing it. Not sure what others are feeling or if it's just me. Yeah, so like noticing how even talking about it creates more of it. Yeah, and that's is again what I would just say. Pause. You're noticing what's happening, noticing where you're feeling it, and then what did you do? You spoke about it. You brought it up. So I think to me that's like a probably something that maybe you don't always do, but in this group you've brought this up, and that might have interrupted something that's going on. So let's see here. I've had to set more boundaries to break the habit with some people, and I've had to learn to take them in very small doses. Yeah, we get to choose who we hang out with. Totally get to choose that. Sometimes we've learned that other people get to choose, but the truth is you get to choose who that is. So if you ever read the book, Unwinding Anxiety, he has a couple of other books that kind of use the same premise here. So when we're in the first gear, he talks about how you want to notice the habit loop. You see what's going on. So now we've got applying it. We're just going to allow awareness to cause that pause. We're just seeing what's happening. And then when we get into second gear, we start to get curious. Is the behavior we're doing, is it helpful or harmful? And so that's in that, okay, I see what happened. Now it's like, what was the result? Because this is information that's going to update our brain that this is actually not an unsafe situation. And safety is created in yourself. And so we have to rewire our brain and our nervous system to what is safe and what is not, safe. We are going to be scanning for stuff, but we probably want to be a little more in control and just like notice like, oh, I see that I'm telling myself again, this is unsafe. It's unsafe for me to tell people that I don't want to be around them or that I don't like their behavior. And it's actually more unsafe for me, I'm realizing, to not say anything. Then the third gear, he calls it the bigger, better offer. So you find something to put into that behavior that gives you a result that feels better. And so that's what we're looking for is what is the bigger, better offer? Someone mentioned earlier about how it could be like, I'm doing shopping. I have a daughter that is trying to quit smoking, and she thought that smoking was helping her anxiety a lot. And so she's trying to find different things to do instead of smoke. And one of the things she realized after she quit smoking was that she thought it helped her drive and not have anxiety. And after she quit smoking, she realized that she started chewing gum with the nicotine, but then she went to just regular gum, and the gum chewing was helping more to not be anxious than the cigarette smoking. But she had to experiment and, figure these things out. Oh, there we go. Too many things. So this is, the way to kind of help yourself figure out, how do I want to update the brain? Well, I got to find some other things that are going to be helpful. And so the biggest thing is that curiosity piece. Curiosity is something that is going to help the brain relax. And once your brain is in more of a nothing, relaxed, open, spacious state, it's a lot easier to learn. There's no judgment going on. And so what we're trying to do is look at like, we want to connect, we want to relate to ourselves, to our experience, instead of reacting. A lot of times I would just say this, we are just kind of conditioned to react and be in survival mode. And so it takes a lot of mindfulness to be aware that we're in that state and then go back and say, oh, I would rather relate to this Let me be curious. What's underneath this? What's really happening? What's bringing this about? Are things that curiosity can help with. So we have 10 minutes, and I'm going to put just some simple tools up here for people, but I'm going to just pause for a minute and see if there's anyone that has any questions, because I've kind of rambled on things. And so I'm just going to pause. Thank you. And someone says the small doses of strategy, and I think that's a very important thing. If you are an over achiever, if you are an over performer or over functioner, sometimes you jump in and try to do way too much too fast, and that can kind of set you back. So yeah, taking it easy. So curiosity will kind of like bring in the choice, because my brain's now open. And so what are the things? And I call these simple. It doesn't mean that at first glance that they're going to be easy and that we're going to want to do them, or if we've tried it once and said, oh, it didn't work. But the truth is your breath is like the best anchor. Just becoming aware, like right now. Are you breathing? How do you know you're breathing? You can unmute if you want. Yeah, I know I'm breathing because I can feel the air going into my nostril. I can feel it kind of curling down and going into my stomach. And so that moment is just like if you are feeling like gripped in the anxiety, just start breathing, noticing your breath is going to, there are a lot of different ways we can do breathing, but sometimes just noticing it at first, maybe even putting your hand on your heart or your belly. The psychological sigh is a way to reset the nervous system, and it is like, and I also think of this as a baby. If you've been around children and they get a crying and they just can't stop for a while, or even yourself, when you are done, you go, and so that right there is just signaling to the body, we're safe. We're calming down now. We're safe. Feel your feet on the ground. You know, where are they at? If I feel something in my body, if I can, remove the judgment. It's just a feeling. Start describing it. It's sharp. It's hot. It's tense. It's tight. Whatever it is, just describe it. We're just doing those things. Yeah. We got a couple things here. I'm still uptight, and that's how I know. I feel grounded and relaxed when I do. Yeah. And maybe it's okay that you're noticing that you're still in that tight position. We're just allowing it to move through us. Sometimes we can get that curious question. And to me, this is kind of in that loving kindness is, what is this moment asking of me? You know, what's happening in front of me? What's it asking from me? What would feel supportive right now? And that is just something that you can answer. Sometimes we can make that request to the people around us, but maybe the request has to come from the answer to us is like, oh, I could actually just say, it's okay. It's okay. You're feeling stressed right now. It's okay. To help you. Some other tools. This one here, it's not just from Tara Brach. There's been a lot of people that have used Rain, but I really like hers. She has a really quick little thing if you Google her. but it's just R is for recognize what's happening right here. A, this is the hard part, just allow it to be there. Allow it to be present. Allow yourself to be present. Investigate that feeling, what's happening with curiosity, no judgment, and nurturing yourself with kindness. A lot of times when we're resistant, we're not bringing in that kindness to ourselves. And when you think, some of us might go, I don't like anything about myself. I don't like how I am. I'm not okay. There's something wrong with me. The fact that you are even trying to soothe and protect yourself is a sign of how much you do love yourself. And it may take a while to see it, but that little bit of like whatever's trying to protect you, it does care about you. And just shifting it into nurturing yourself. Some other things that can be brought in is just using the simple 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so just knowing that you can look around, you got your vision, use your senses. You can hear. What are things I hear? What are things that I feel? What are things that I smell? And what is something that I taste? All of that is kind of just like the anxiety can be there. I'm just going to come over and use my senses right now. We're getting some space in there. Put your hand on your heart. Some things that I think are great when you're feeling anxious can also be give yourself a hug. If you feel like you need to protect yourself, that's what anxiety is doing. Give yourself a hug. Put your hand on your cheek. You can say to yourself, I'm here with you. It's okay. We're going back to that child. How do we want to be with it? A lot of times it is not just sitting and breathing. It is, I got to move my body. I'm an animal. And if I had all that adrenaline, I got to get it out. And so maybe you're just bouncing around. How many people fidget? Fidgeting is actually, you're trying to get that tension out of your body. So there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the fidgeting. Taking a short walk to release your tension. And so these are all kinds of things that you can put in the place of the behavior that you're noticing is causing some issues. All right, we got a hand up. Looks like Carol.
Oh, no. No. And no.
Checking to see did you have something you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. So those are some things that can be helpful to do this. And the last slide here is really around like letting you know that this is a practice. It's not perfection. Every time you do any kind of pause, any kind of interruption, you're building some strength into changing and rewiring and getting new habits in place. And it's going to feel like sometimes you want to give up. Just keep showing up for yourself. Keep showing up for yourself. I don't know, maybe this is our life's work for just showing up for ourselves. And we're changing our relationship with ourselves one little pause at a time to get somewhere that feels not so constricted and tight so we can open up more. And then these are the books that I have found really helpful and a couple of podcasts. I'm going to read a couple things in here. It looks like someone said I had to drop, but they wanted me to send anything if I could. They had asked for the Burns Mood Log, and it is a very powerful tool that is where you write down what happened, you rate all the feelings you're having, and then you write down all your negative thoughts, see if there's distortions in them, and then reframe your thinking. And that can be really helpful for a lot of people to just identify things in there. Yeah, so hopefully this gave you a little bit. I know an hour for these is never long enough, but you can always, check in if you haven't used any of your visit benefits and see a counselor here and talk about this. But again, there's a lot of things that we can do that don't require medication. But a lot of times it takes this different kind of effort, and the effort is really just being with yourself and being okay when you're not feeling okay. Like there's nothing wrong with you. If we can get rid of that thought that there's nothing wrong with me, it's okay that I'm feeling this, it's okay that this is happening in my body. I have some room to breathe. I have a different experience with myself. So yeah, hopefully this gave you all some stuff. And I just say go out and be curious and just notice how you're interacting with anxiety. Yeah, I will stop recording. Let's see.